Before any war is fought in the world, it is first fought in the mind. Before any empire is built, it is first imagined in silence. And before any man rises, he must first win the invisible war raging within himself. There is a battlefield no one sees, not marked by blood or weapon, by thoughts, doubts, and silent wars between who you are and who you could become. It is here, in this unseen plate, that destiny is decided. The greatest victories and the greatest defeats of humankind were born not in cities or on battlefields, but in the chambers of the mind. If you listen closely, you can hear that war inside you right now, the whispers of fear clashing against the voice of possibility. One says, "You're not ready." The other says, "You were born for this." And the outcome of your life will be decided by which one you choose to believe. You see, the real enemy was never the world. It was never the economy, your past, or the people who doubted you. The real enemy has always been the voice inside that convinces you to surrender before the fight even begins. That voice that tells you to stay comfortable, stay small, stay the same. And if you keep obeying it, your potential will die quietly, not from failure, but from fear disguised as logic. Napoleon Hill once said, "You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul." But how can you be the captain of your soul when you've handed the wheel to your fears? When your thoughts command your life like an untrained army running wild? To master your fate, you must first master your mind. Because the truth is simple but brutal. Until you control what happens within, you'll always be controlled by what happens without. Every limitation you've ever felt began as a thought you accepted. Every chain you've ever worn was first forged in your imagination. You told yourself you couldn't. You believed it. And your mind, being the most loyal servant in the universe, said, "As you wish." The mind obeys belief like fire obeys oxygen. It feeds on whatever you give it. Feed it fear, and it will burn your future to ash. Feed it faith, and it will forge your destiny in gold. So ask yourself, what have you been feeding your mind? Because every day you're programming it with every thought, every scroll, every conversation, every secret belief you whisper to yourself when no one is listening. Most people think they're thinking, but they're just remembering, replaying old patterns of fear, failure, and frustration. Their minds are not creative factories. They're archives of pain. And as long as your mind runs on yesterday's beliefs, tomorrow will look exactly the same. But there's a moment, and maybe this is that moment, when a man decides he's done being ruled by when he realizes that the battlefield he's been avoiding is the only one worth fighting on. When he looks in the mirror and finally understands, the enemy is not out there. It's in here. The day you face that truth is the day you stop being a victim of life and start becoming its architect. Belief is the first weapon of victory, because everything in life begins with belief. You can't outwork your self-image. You can't outperform your own expectation. You can only rise to the level of what you believe is possible for you. Look at the world's great achievers. They didn't begin with certainty. They began with belief. They saw themselves winning long before the world saw it. They trained their minds to see opportunity where others saw failure. That's not luck, that's mastery. Hill taught that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Those aren't just words, they're law. The universe responds not to your wishes but to your conviction. When your belief becomes absolute, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around it. But belief alone is not enough. You must marry belief to clarity, because a confused mind creates a chaotic life. Most people don't lose to lack of talent, they lose to lack of focus. They wake up with 1,000 thoughts and no direction, driven not by vision but by noise. Clarity is power. Clarity is peace. Clarity is the silent force that bends the world to your will. When your vision is clear, your mind becomes a weapon. Distraction loses its grip. Doubt loses its power. Every cell in your body begins to align with your mission. That's not magic, that's alignment. It's the truth most never face. Clarity requires solitude. It demands silence. You cannot find yourself in the noise of the world. You must be willing to withdraw, to stand in stillness and ask the hardest questions. Who am I? What do I want? Why am I here? Until you answer those, you'll keep running in circles, chasing goals that mean nothing, achieving everything but feeling empty inside. Because success without purpose is just another form of failure, a shinier cage. Purpose is the compass of the mind. It's the one force that gives meaning to struggle, direction to pain, courage to persistence. Without purpose, you'll fall for every distraction, every doubt, every excuse. But when purpose burns in your heart, no obstacle is strong enough to stop you. The mind needs purpose the way a soldier needs a cause. It must believe the battle matters, or it will surrender the first time life hits back. And life will hit back. It always does. The world will test your belief. It will mock your vision. It will push your purpose to the edge. And when it does, one thing will decide your fate: discipline. Discipline is self-love in action. It's faith made visible. It's the daily decision to do what must be done, even when the mood has left, the applause has faded, and no one is watching. Discipline is the weapon that silences fear. It's the proof that your spirit commands your flesh, not the other way around. And the man who masters discipline becomes unstoppable, as he no longer depends on emotion to move. He moves by commitment. Napoleon Hill once said, "If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self." And that is the battle most men lose long before the world defeats them. They lose to laziness. They lose to excuses. They lose to comfort. Comfort, the sweetest poison of the modern world. It lulls your ambition to sleep and convinces you that safety is success. No man ever grew strong in a comfortable room. The mind grows sharp through struggle, not ease. Every challenge you face, every heartbreak you endure, every mountain you climb, they're not punishments, they're invitations. Invitations to rise, to evolve, to strengthen the within. When you face adversity, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Because the world isn't testing your worth, it's testing your will. The warrior of the mind understands this. That pain is not an enemy, it's a messenger. Every wound carries wisdom. Every delay hides direction. Every failure holds fuel for the next attempt. And if you can train your mind to see lessons where others see losses, you've already won. Because the true battle was never about what happens to you, it's about what happens within you. Every great transformation begins the same way, with a single, defiant thought: no more. No more being ruled by fear. No more bowing to the opinions of people who have never walked your path. No more betraying your own potential just to fit into a world built by those who settled. That's the moment when the soldier of the mind awakens. When you finally understand that life is not something happening to you, it's something responding to you. The outer world is a mirror of the inner one. And if you don't like the reflection, the only way to change it is to conquer what's causing it. The battle within is not a war of violence. It's a war of vigilance. You must become the guardian of your thoughts, the protector of your imagination, the commander of your emotion. Because whatever enters your mind without permission will rule your life without mercy. Your thoughts are not harmless, they are architects. Every single one is building or breaking something inside you. Each thought plants a seed, and the garden of your destiny depends on what you allow to grow. Think fear and you'll harvest hesitation. Think courage and you'll reap opportunity. So choose wisely, because the mind obeys whatever it repeats most often. Hill called it autosuggestion, the art of telling your mind what to believe until it becomes truth. The world calls it manifestation, psychology calls it conditioning, but the essence is the same. You become what you rehearse in silence. The question is, what story have you been rehearsing? Because for most, the story isn't "I will rise." It's "I've failed too many times." It's "I'm not enough." It's "people like me don't make it that far." And those silent repetitions become invisible shackles. You live inside a prison built of your own sentences. But the moment you rewrite the script, you rewrite your fate. The man who learns to speak to himself with power becomes unstoppable. The mind doesn't argue, it obeys. Say, "I'm not ready," and your brain shuts down opportunity. Say, "I'm being prepared," and your brain opens the gates of possibility. Words create chemistry, and chemistry creates destiny. There is an energy that follows language. When you speak in doubt, you lower your vibration. When you speak in faith, you command creation. That's not mysticism, that's physics. Energy follows intention. So start speaking life into your days. Speak strength into your mornings. Speak gratitude into your nights. Speak victory over every fear that rises. Because the tongue was never meant to curse your own name. It was meant to call your power forward. But remember, belief, clarity, and speech are useless without action. Discipline turns thoughts into reality. And discipline is not punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. It's how you prove to yourself that you are worthy of your own dreams. Every act of consistency carves new identity into your soul. Think of it, each morning you rise early when you could have slept longer. You're training your mind that you are in control. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-trust strengthens. And self-trust is the currency of greatness. Without it, you'll keep hesitating at the edge of opportunity. But with it, you'll walk through fire without flinching. Because you've already won the harder fight, the one inside. The world celebrates results, but the mind celebrates resistance. the times you said yes when your body screamed no, the times you moved forward when your emotions begged you to quit. Those are the invisible victories that shape destiny. That's why the strong are calm. They've learned that storms are temporary, but surrender is permanent. They don't ask for lighter burdens, they build stronger backs. As the truth is, you don't grow when life is kind. You grow when life is cruel enough to test what you claim to believe. Every trial you face is an invitation to sharpen your mental armor. You say you want success, the universe will hand you struggle. You say you want strength, it will hand you challenge. You say you want peace, it will hand you chaos. Because the universe doesn't give you what you ask for, it gives you what you're ready to handle. Readiness is forged in the fire of resistance. There is a version of you waiting beyond the pain, the one who no longer panics when life shifts, who no longer doubts when plans collapse, who no longer begs for clarity because they become clarity. That version is not built through ease, it's sculpted through endurance. And endurance is nothing but faith stretched over time. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move despite it. It's the voice that whispers, keep walking, even when the light is gone. When you live by faith, you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I fly? You stop waiting for proof and start providing it. Hill said, faith is the head chemist of the mind. And he was right. Faith is the alchemy that turns thought into creation. It transforms invisible dreams into visible results. But faith is fragile if it's not protected. You must guard it the way a king guards his crown. The moment you let negativity rule your mind, your faith weakens. That's why discipline, belief, and faith must walk hand in hand. Each protects the other. The disciplined man builds evidence for his faith. The faithful man fuels his discipline with purpose. The believer ties it all together with vision. Vision, the unseen photograph of your future. You must see it before you can seize it. You must hold it in your imagination until reality bows to it. Every great leader, artist, inventor, or warrior first lived their victory in the world of the unseen. They built castles in their minds long before they built them in stone. They rehearsed success so vividly that the mind began to treat it as memory. That's how creation works. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. It simply obeys repetition and emotion. So feed it images of triumph. Feed it pictures of your highest self, walking tall, calm, certain, fulfilled. Feel the emotion of that life before it arrives. Because emotion is the fuel that sends the message deeper. The more you feel it, the faster your mind begins to shape it. But here's where most people fail. They imagine greatness but live contradiction. They visualize strength but speak weakness. They affirm abundance but act in fear. The mind gets confused. You cannot plant seeds of victory while watering weeds of doubt. You must live congruently, think, speak, and act from the same vibration. That's when the magic happens. That's when life stops resisting and starts responding. When your thoughts, words, and actions align, the universe recognizes command. That's when doors open that logic can't explain. That's when coincidences multiply, opportunities appear, and what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. That's the reward of inner mastery. The outer world bends to the one who has conquered himself. Because a man who has peace in his mind cannot be enslaved by the chaos of the world. A man who controls his thoughts controls his destiny. So ask yourself, who is ruling your kingdom? If your mind is your kingdom, are you the king or the captive? Because one lives by command, the other lives by condition. One creates reality, the other reacts to it. One lives with purpose, the other dies with excuses. And only you can choose which one you'll be. There comes a moment in every warrior's life when the noise inside the mind becomes louder than the world outside. That's the moment of reckoning, the moment when you can no longer escape yourself. When your excuses sound hollow, your distractions lose their sweetness, and the mirror starts asking questions you've spent years avoiding. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you without your titles, your trophies, your followers? Who are you when the applause fades, and the only sound left is your heartbeat reminding you that time is passing? That is the moment when truth demands its due, and only those who dare to face it will ever taste freedom. Because the hardest battle isn't against failure, it's against the familiar version of you that fears what comes after victory. The self that clings to comfort because pain has become its identity. The self that says, better to stay small and safe than to risk being great and alone. But you were not born to live small. You were born to remember your power, to awaken the part of you that no fear can corrupt, no doubt can silence, and no setback can destroy. The world doesn't need more, it needs more warriors of the mind, men and women who refuse to be prisoners of their own potential, who understand that the mind is not a cage but a kingdom, and like any kingdom, it must be ruled. You rule it with intention, with discipline, with the courage to challenge every thought that doesn't serve your highest purpose. When a thought of fear enters, confront it. When a voice of doubt whispers, question it. When an old belief tries to pull you backward, remind it that you are not who you once were, you are who you are becoming. The most powerful statement you can ever make is not, I am ready, but I am willing. Ready means waiting for perfection. Willing means moving in faith. And that's what separates those who live powerfully from those who merely exist. The willingness to act without guarantees, to walk without seeing the whole path, to trust that the mind once conquered will create the map. You were given this mind not to survive, but to command reality. Look around, every invention, every skyscraper, every empire, every miracle of human creation began in a mind no different from yours. The only difference was that someone dared to believe their thoughts mattered. The same energy that built worlds runs through your veins. The same intelligence that carved galaxies listens when you think. You are not small. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply untrained in the art of your own divinity. Train your mind as a warrior trains his sword. Sharpen it through repetition. Polish it through reflection. Strengthen it through silence. The mind obeys mastery, not chaos. And when it becomes your servant rather than your master, life opens its gates to you. When fear rises, do not run, witness it. When doubt knocks, invite it in and listen. You'll realize it was never a monster, only a messenger. Came to show you where faith is still missing. The mind is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It shows you where you still believe you are less than infinite. Every time you conquer a fear, your world expands. Every time you overcome doubt, your energy rises. Every time you replace a weak thought with a powerful one, you are rewriting the script of your destiny. And that is what this battle is truly about. Not destroying your old self, but transforming it. Turning resistance into resilience. Turning chaos into clarity. Turning pain into purpose. Because when you master the inner war, the outer world bows to your command. You stop reacting. You start creating. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop waiting for signs. You start becoming one. That's the mark of a liberated mind. It no longer depends on circumstance for strength. It draws power from within. And when a man reaches that state, nothing external can enslave him again. Not failure, not rejection, not even loss. Because he understands that nothing in the outer world can touch the fortress of a mind built in faith. That is what Napoleon Hill meant when he said, "You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul." He wasn't speaking poetry. He was giving you the blueprint to freedom. To master your fate, you must master your focus. To command your soul, you must command your thoughts. Everything begins in the invisible, and only those who rule the invisible can shape the visible. So, from this moment forward, let every doubt be your drill. Let every fear be your teacher. Let every failure be your forge. Because you are not here to avoid the battle, you are here to win it. The greatest victory is not when the world applauds you. It's when your mind finally kneels before your will. When the noise quiets, when your inner critic grows silent, when your own reflection looks back and says, "We did it. We became who we were meant to be." That is the victory kings and conquerors envy. It's the peace that cannot be purchased or praised away. That is the moment your life begins to serve purpose instead of fear. So take this truth with every time you choose strength over surrender, you win a piece of that battle. Every time you hold the line against distraction, temptation, and doubt, you reclaim territory within yourself. Until one day you stand fully sovereign, unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. That is the real meaning of wealth. That is the real definition of success. To wake each morning and know that your mind serves you, not the other way around. To live not as a prisoner of thought, but as the architect of destiny. To walk through the world with quiet confidence, knowing that whatever happens outside can never conquer what lives within. That is mastery. That is freedom. That is victory. And it was never out there. It was always inside you. The visible. So, from this moment forward, let every doubt be your drill. Let every fear be your teacher. Let every failure be your forge. Because you are not here to avoid the battle, you are here to win it. The greatest victory is not when the world applauds you. It's when your mind finally kneels before your will. When the noise quiets, when your inner critic grows silent, when your own reflection looks back and says, We did it. We became who we were meant to be. That is the victory kings and conquerors envy. It's the peace that cannot be purchased or praised away. That is the moment your life begins to serve purpose instead of fear. So take this truth with every time you choose strength over surrender, you win a piece of that battle. Every time you hold the line against distraction, temptation, and doubt, you reclaim territory within yourself, until one day you stand fully sovereign, unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. That is the real meaning of wealth. That is the real definition of success. To wake each morning and know that your mind serves you, not the other way around. To live not as a prisoner of thought, but as the architect of destiny. To walk through the world with quiet confidence, knowing that whatever happens outside can never conquer what lives within. That is mastery. That is freedom. That is victory. And it was never out there. It was always inside you. Whatever happens outside can never conquer what lives within. That is mastery. That is freedom. That is victory. And it was never out there. It was always inside you. Out there. It was always inside you.